Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon. Today we're going to be coaching a Diamond Akali player who's a Master Peak, focusing really a lot on understanding roaming, understanding kind of planning in games, and then understanding target priority. Those are going to be the three main things that we sort of focus on, especially with roaming being a large focus. So if you guys are interested in learning more about roaming or mid lane as a whole, stick around and watch this video. If you're interested in getting coached by a rank 5 sovereign autofill player like myself, then just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server to then find me there. It's just $15 an hour for an hour of coaching where we go over 2 games and over some replays, then write notes, stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in that, DM me and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just OBS. Okay, so you see the game now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you're currently Diamond? Is your peak Diamond, or what's your peak rank?
I'm peak master, but I haven't played this season like a lot, so.
So what's the goal with the coaching? Like anything specific? Any like type of rank you're trying to get or anything?
Not the rank. It's just that, like, I'm fine with master. I'm just I suck at roaming, so that's.
You want to figure
one
that
thing.
out more?
Yes, because
Gotcha.
like sometimes I just feel like I don't have to roam because I can get the turret by myself.
Yeah.
But then I like pinged the whole time, and then I don't know, and then I try to roam, and then the team just does not go with me.
And is it usually Akali, or do you play a lot of champions, or like what's your champion pool?
Akali when she's not banned. Otherwise, like if I go against a Morgana, I try to pick Lux or how is the other one called? Vex. Yes.
Vex, okay. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so the way that I typically do the coaching, we go over 2 replays. Basically, I'll talk about a lot of the small details of the game, while we're doing it, and then I'll write down at the end notes for the more general points that you would more specifically want to improve on. So starting off, the first main thing is you don't want to walk into this type of bush here, level 1, if you lose the level 1 trade. Like Akali will lose to Yasuo, and you'll lose to most AD champions because they just have more sustained damage, because AD champions are just usually better early game. And so generally speaking, as well as if it was, say, a ranged champion, not really going to want to walk in here, because you're just going to, if he's here, you're going to get pressured out. If he's not here, you don't really get any actual benefit from it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, this type of ward doesn't give us a lot of value. The reason that this ward doesn't give us much value, it doesn't really show us people coming from this area, so we could get ganked through this area. And then it also doesn't give us an idea of where the enemy jungle is pathing. So say that the enemy jungle started on his red side, he would then eventually come here, and then he would go straight to his blue side. You would never have any information. So you get very little information from this ward. Alongside that, you don't really want to ward level 1. You want to ward level 2 or level 3. The reason for that is because if you ward level 2 or 3, it means that you could potentially push the lane first, and then go ward deeper, like on a jungle camp, so you can actually find where the jungle is. Or if you're losing the lane and you're getting pushed back, you can ward in a safer spot, like in this bush or this bush, so then you can get information. Because if you're under your turret, then you're only going to get ganked through this type of angle. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Everything's fine here in terms of trading. It's pretty important generally as a Akali to just try to keep the lane basically frozen, like right in this area. Like here, you should try to freeze it here, because Akali's biggest power spike is level 2, like before level 5, obviously. But like level 2, she's really strong because you get your shroud, and then it's pretty hard for people to walk up on you. So we really just want to try to freeze this wave the best we can, rather than kind of like you let that one minion go. Not a big deal, but would have been slightly better to keep it there so then the enemy has to walk up. And then as soon as they walk up for this minion, you should immediately use your second ability and just start trading really hard. That's usually going to be what you want to do most times, which you do here, so that's really good. And then, yeah, he gets scared off. So that's good how you did that. You just want to make sure you're trying to be more intentional about like keeping the minion there. But overall, it's good.
I just have a question real quick, because like you mentioned Shroud. I usually go Shroud, yes. But if I go against a Lux and I know she's kind of aggressive, which she shouldn't be, then I try to like not go Shroud, but
go E second, yeah.
Yes. Is that okay, or should I always go Shroud second?
So generally, I would recommend going Shroud second most of the time if you're gonna be doing that. But the thing that sometimes like a player that I'm like friends with, whatever, is like rank 1 Akali in North America. His name is Pablo, and sometimes I'll see him in like hard range matchups go third ability level 1, because then he can get like a really big trade with electrocute on them. But that's really risky, because if you miss your third ability, you're completely screwed. But doing it at level 2, like doing Q then E, and not having your shroud at all usually isn't going to get you more damage. Because say it's a Lux, for example. If you land your third ability on Lux, she'll Q and EU and you'll still lose the trade or go even. You're not really going to win the trade. But if you use your second ability, it's a lot harder for her to land spells on you. She can't see you. You get more pressure. And so it's more even just the pressure of having that spell. So I would say you should usually be going second ability still.
Okay, got it.
And then here also we kind of need to understand our goal in the lane. And so typically the goal most of the time as an Akali or just as most assassins, most AP champions is not really to kill someone in the first 4 levels. Like most of the time you're just not going to be able to do that. You just don't have the damage to sustain anything like that. And so your main goal here when you get your wave in a spot like this where I'm just going to go back a little bit. Basically when your wave is right here, you kind of know that you're going to be building up a big push because you have more minions than him. So it's going to slowly build up and eventually it's going to go under his turret. And so you want to make use of this time by pushing the wave quickly, getting a recall first for your mana boots. Like typically we want to find a recall on 900 gold when we have 900 additional gold because we get our mana boots. And then what that ends up doing is it allows you to recall first. When you recall first like that, you're then able to get back to lane first, push the wave, and then that's when you create your first roaming opportunity and you'll be level 5. So you said you were kind of confused about roaming. Usually this is how we're going to set up a proper roam, is by doing what I said so that our wave is pushing when we are winning the lane instead of playing for like a kill angle here. Because here, a Yasuo, the wave's pushing under his turret. He's still half health. He has exhaust. He has flash. It's going to be hard to kill unless he fucks up, which, you know, is possible because we are playing against masters and diamonds, but like it's still not, you know, something we should really play for because usually what ends up happening is what you see here. You're going to win the trade, but really whatever jungle shows up is who dies. Like it's not really based around much more on that. And so yeah, like a jungle shows up and luckily it's Shyvana, so it's not super scary. But then you end up getting pressured. Now you're stuck in lane a long time, no longer winning the lane super hard, and you kind of just get stuck in a situation like this we can see where then the trades go even. So you can kind of see even in a situation where it's advantageous initially because you traded well, unless you see a really easy kill angle, like let's say, you know, you play Akali a lot, you play your champions a lot, maybe you know a specific matchup, you're like, I can definitely kill it this time, or you see that they get a lot lower, they're doing, you know, making mistakes, then it's fine. But when you end up basically being kind of late year where you haven't recalled for 2 waves, like it's been 2 waves later than you should have recalled, now you end up not having as many roaming opportunities to help out your team. You end up getting stuck in a situation like this. You kind of just, and then we can kind of see what happens, right, where you get pressured. And so you're a lot more at the aid or at the mercy of the jungle when you play like this. Whereas if you're kind of planning on that, usually it's going to be the 3rd wave. If you can crash the, do you know what I mean when I say crash the wave? Like kill it under their, or make it go under their turret, basically.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And if I'm ever saying something that doesn't make sense, just stop me and I'll try to explain it better because sometimes I use terms that not everyone might know. But yeah, basically that 3rd wave is the one that we want to try to crash under their turret, get the mana boots, recall, then come back to lane, and then use that time to start roaming. Or the other option is if you think you can kill someone. So if you hit level 5, you recall for your mana boots, and then the enemy is overextending, maybe you also just kill them in lane. But that's usually the timer we want to try to recall on. And so then what you're doing here is exactly what you should basically do, whereas you recall, you get back to lane first, and then you should roam after this. Because now you create an opportunity where there's a wave under his turret, and you have time to basically do whatever you want. So with this time, you either would roam like you're doing, you could ward a jungle camp, you could do whatever, but then we need to like actually assess the situation and realize if the gank's going to work out or not. So here, both of the enemies are full health. They have Karma Shield, they have Caitlyn 3rd ability. We don't know if they have flashes or not. We don't know if they have their exhaust, their barriers. So going on this is probably going to be a pretty low likelihood of actually working out. Whereas we see that the wave's about to come back to mid. So you have a high likelihood, if you continue to go for this gank, of losing out on the rest of the golden mid lane, right? That's about to get there. And then that's kind of what we see happen. And we see they had flash, they had 3rd ability, they had all that, right? And then we don't get much value and we lose out on the gold. So basically when it comes to roaming, you set your roam up properly. You pushed the wave and then you roamed and you had about 15 seconds before the next wave was going to come. The problem is, once you got halfway down the river, you didn't make the proper call of whether you should continue to follow the roam or not. And the things we're going to take into account are, do we know if they don't have flashes, their health bars, their mana, where they're pushed, you know, that type of thing. Does that kind of make sense why we wouldn't have wanted to go for that once we got halfway down the river?
Yes, I kind of got it. It's just that I feel like if I then just go back to the lane, I kind of miss half of the wave anyways, and then I just feel like I didn't do anything. I just like was walking,
Yeah.
so
So
like
you did
I could at least get the flash and the spells.
Yeah, so you don't lose out on anything if you leave at the proper time. So if you get right here, you should go about halfway down the river, you assess the situation, and here, what are we looking at? Our teammates are, again, far back. Nothing is, nobody's low health, no nothing. Look at the wave right now. You can see it here. It hasn't even yet reached mid. So if you go back right now, you wouldn't lose anything, correct?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So and also, I also want to point out the other thing. You said you feel like you're doing nothing, right? You feel like you're just like wasting your time.
Yeah.
So you think you're wasting your time for this next 10 seconds, right? Now look at what
Yes.
Yasuo is doing. Is Yasuo wasting his time? Is he getting any more value from his time than you are from your time right now? Is there anything he's doing that you're not that's more important?
I mean, he's getting the wave, but like.
But you already got the wave. So you already did that, right? So what else would
Yes.
you know what I mean? So you're not actually doing anything, like he's not doing anything more than you. So it's not always about you. You don't have to feel like you're doing like, a million things at once. You're 3.5 minutes into the game as a champion who scales really well, who's very strong later on in the game. You don't need to 24/7 be doing a million things. The thing that you need to be understanding is you're just giving yourself many opportunities, or you're trying to give yourself many opportunities to get a kill or two, because even if you end up being 1-0 or 2-0 at the end of a lane, you're really happy with that. So even if you go 0-0, you're still fine with that. But if you just stayed in your lane and then you got the wave and you farmed it, you came back, you got the wave, farmed it, you did nothing else, you're never going to really get any value unless you're able to solo kill your lane opponent, which, as we spoke about, is pretty hard for a Akali. So if you want to play a champion who's really lane dominant, you play Jace, you play Lucian, Akshan, play one of those champions, and then you can stick in lane a lot more. But if we're going to play mages or like AP champions that are better in the late game, we have to understand that the way that we squeeze value out of the situations is just using that 10 to 15 second window where, again, you cleared the wave right here, right? So because you cleared the wave, there's nothing for you to do in this lane. That's what we need to understand. Once we clear the wave, there's nothing to do until the next wave is coming. And so the things that we can do with our time are recall if we need to spend gold or, get health, mana, whatever. Rotate if we see a gank opportunity, or go for a ward. Those are basically the things we can do with our time. And so with this, you looked for a ward, or you looked for a roam. You could have warded if you had a ward, and you didn't need to recall. So, and then it turned out the gank didn't work. It turned out there was nothing to ward, right? So basically, you had nothing that you could have done here. You might feel like you had a lot that you should have done, but this is the best thing that you could have done. And the only problem is then like the sunk cost fallacy, where then you think, oh, I'm already here, I have to get something out of it. But in reality, you could just go back and you're not actually losing out on anything. Does that make sense? Do you still have questions about that? I don't know if I explained that too well.
No, it's making a lot of sense. Thank you. I just don't want to interrupt you because, like.
No, I'm happy for you to interrupt. The point is to make coaching valuable for you. So if I'm saying something, you're like, this doesn't make fucking sense, or you want to just ask a different question, just interrupt me. I don't care at all. So.
Oh yeah, but like, thank you. Up until now, everything's making perfect sense.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that then. That's good. And yeah, we'll write notes out at the end, as we said, so then we'll have, more concise things to focus on.
Yeah, I wrote one question down for later, so.
I mean, you can ask it now. Like, I can just pause if you want to ask it now.
Okay, all right. So sometimes I'm in the mid lane and my enemy is like pretty bad, or he's like roaming the whole time and still losing. So I just get the turret, and then when the first herald is up, I'm almost like 1 or 2 plates away from getting the turret.
Yeah.
Should I stick with the turret if I know that my enemy laner is like gone or like dead, or should I still go to herald and help my jungler? Because like I think,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
It's just like, because like the way I see it, the herald is to get first turret, right? Because it gets you more gold.
Yeah.
And so if I get the first turret anyways without moving to herald, and I can ping to my jungler that he should just like try to contest but not die, should I do that or just stick with him?
So I mean, things are very situational. So I want to also make it clear that there's never just one right answer, because there's a lot of other factors that would go into what your decision would be. So the first thing is, you're right. The goal of a herald is essentially to get turret. The real goal is to get gold, right? Because getting that turret, the actual goal is gold. So when you're deciding on whether to get the turret or get the herald, you're trying to think about how much gold you're going to get from the herald play versus the mid turret. So let's say you see a fight you think it's very likely. Let's say you guys, you're strong. Say your jungler is strong, and then you see the enemy going towards the herald as well, and your jungler, your top laner, and you are all way ahead, and the enemy are contesting. Going to that fight makes sense because you're probably going to win, right? If you're ahead, and then you go win, you get a bunch of free gold from that. and then you can go, because you won the fight, get mid lane after, and you're going to get the turret anyways. But say that your teammate is down 1,000 gold, say your top laner is already 0-2, and you're like, I'm the only one who's fed, right? In that case, you're probably going to want to prioritize the turret because your gold matters a lot more. So basically, it's like, yeah, if you think the fight looks winning, it looks positive, you can probably push the wave and then rotate towards it, because it's going to take you a very long time to kill the turret, because turret's resistances go up the lower health it is when plates are up. That's only when plates are up. So that would be during Herald. And so Akali also pushes turrets slowly. So you wouldn't get the turret very fast. You'd be wasting a lot of time, even if it's at 600 health, let's say. But if you have nothing better to do with your time because you don't think the fight is winning, or your teammates are inting, or you saw the enemy support rotated, you're not going to win, then you just have to ping your teammates, as you said, and hope that they don't int. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I would say the good thing is, like, before you do make plays or roam, you've always been pushing your wave, which is a common thing that a lot of people don't do. So I like that you're focused on your wave. Like, I can tell you're very much worried about your mid wave, your turret, your fight. Like, you're very worried about this. And then, yeah, the hard part for you is, like, getting the value outside of, like, lane or roaming or that type of thing. And so the main thing is just, yeah, creating those opportunities after you push the wave to then try to do something. And if you don't see an angle to do something, then you can go back to your lane, is essentially
Okay,
the
I
gist of
have a
it.
question
Yeah.
here. Sorry.
No, keep asking. Don't be sorry.
Okay. Like when I went with the jungler, I was deciding whether I should go with him to kill Yasuo, or if I should kill like the top laner, which I did here.
Yeah.
And I was deciding for the top laner because my top laner was losing against the Teemo, so I thought like if I kill him, I can help him somehow, but he still died. And I thought that my jungler was strong enough to fight against Yasuo. So, like, was that the right call, or should I have prioritized the jungler because, like, he's more important for the
So
objective?
generally, again, all of these things are general, but we're going to usually want to prioritize playing around our stronger members, because what often happens when you end up ganking a weak member, a lot of the times they're bad. They're probably going to keep dying, and then maybe you even die depending on who it is. Like, say this was a fed Aatrox instead of a fed Teemo, you probably die because Aatrox is very good at 1v2ing, for example. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a lot of champions that are very good at 1v2ing, or when they're really fed, it's really hard. And that's why we usually want to play around our stronger points and kind of, take out the enemy weaknesses when it comes to the early game to get ourselves a bigger lead. But then when it comes to later team fights, that's when we're going to prioritize the targeting on, like, the fed carry, right? Because then that's where it really matters, is in those certain team fights. So generally speaking, play around the strong member if you're confused on what to do. In this situation, if you thought, okay, my teammate's already going to kill Yasuo, Yasuo's dead, then yeah, you don't need to go kill Yasuo. You can go help Teemo in this case. So if you just were like, yeah, he's definitely going to kill the Yasuo, then it's totally fine to prioritize the Teemo. And Teemo is an easy champion to kill. It's not a Fiora, it's not an Aatrox. So in this case, you saw a good angle to kill a fed person and get a shutdown. I'm fine with you going for that because you trusted your teammate would kill. So I think you made a fine decision in terms of where to go. But as a general rule, you usually do want to prioritize your stronger member. That makes sense?
Okay, got it. Mm-hmm.
Cool. I don't. You need to be greedy. You need to try to get these plates from, like, you need to walk up. You're not really in danger here. I get you'd be a little scared, but, like, you could have gotten these plates from the turret, from the
Did I
arrow.
not get that?
No, you
Like,
didn't.
wasn't
You're
that
not in range. A little
Where's the
thing.
range?
The range, it's there's no, like, exacts, like, I don't know the number, right?
Ah,
But you got to be around here, like, ish.
Oh,
And you'll see, like, the little gold comes from the thing and then, like, shows that you got plus 150 or whatever. You see how you didn't get any of that coming here, so
yeah.
yeah.
All
So
right.
just, you got to be closer a little bit. Not a big deal, and you were kind of low health, so I get, being a bit apprehensive, but just small thing to point out. But yeah, I definitely would say, just again, because usually as well, the way that I've always approached improvement, the way that I tell most of the people I coach approach improvement is find one or two things at a time to work on. Really, like, focus only on that. Everything else, just play pretty much autopilot the way you would normally play, and then find one or two details at a time to work on. Really focus on that until it becomes habitual, then go on to the next point. It's usually the way to go about it. And so for you currently, I would say the main thing is I want you getting more value out of the like 10 to 15 second window you have after you push a lane really quickly, which is, again, just hovering that mid river, or like hovering bot river, top river, wherever it is, and then doing a good job of evaluating, like, whether or not I need to go further or whether or not I need to go back to my lane. Like I said, taking into account flashes, health bars, and being okay with sometimes not getting a lot of value out of that 15 seconds, because it's not like you do much sitting in lane as well. That, and then also understanding the recall timers in lane, like we said, where you try to recall on those boots and then get back to then push the lane and then find the roam angle on level 5 rather than playing too hard for lane. So I think you over prioritize your lane a little bit as Akali, especially in matchups like Yasuo. Yasuo is good against Akali, hard to beat early on in lane. If this was a Veigar or a matchup you find good, I don't play a lot of Akali specifically, but a matchup you find good, then maybe you play harder for lane if it's going well. And then here as well, and again, stop me if you have questions, but you probably should have just gone topside, gotten this wave because it was about to come, rather than going and helping your teammate who was already fine. He's pretty high health, he's near the turret. So just prioritizing this gold on this wave before rotating, just the same way that you want to push a mid wave before rotating to another side. If you end up finding yourself on a side lane in the mid game like you did here, you'd rather get the side lane wave pushed out before roaming back to mid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does. I'm just gonna interrupt you for a second.
No,
It just
go
feels
ahead.
weird. I'm sorry. The reason I I wanted to get the wave, but then I saw that like my top laner was gonna respawn soon, and like he was very behind, so I I would have wanted to get the wave, but I know that a lot of people who are behind get tilted, and then like if you take their wave, they're just gonna run down. So I didn't want that to happen. And
yeah, I understand. That
he
makes
was
sense.
already toxic in champ select, so I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand if that's how you're thinking about it. The way that I tell people to think about it, the way that has allowed me to get top 10 on the server 4 seasons in a row has
Yes.
been literally fuck everyone. They're all bots. I literally think of them as bots. Like, I legitimately don't think of them as real people. I just think like as if they're not. Yeah, like I want to take everything for myself as much as I can. Now, if like this shifts depending on the game, right? Say that I end up having a teammate do really well, then I'm like, oh, I got a good bot this time. I'm gonna let my bot do its thing. I'm not gonna fuck with the bot. But like if my teammate is playing really bad, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make myself do better. Like I'm not going to take their wave in front of their face and then like emote at them to piss them off, but I am going to take the wave if I'm already there and it's convenient for me and it is the correct play. So I'm usually going to prioritize making the actual correct play rather than like thinking, oh, they might run me down, because the reality is your teammates are going to run you down sometimes. You can't really control their actions, but you can always make the correct play. And in the long run, I believe that's going to lead me to winning a lot more games, and that's what's worked for me. So I'm not really going to prioritize like their mental. If they want to run it down, like I can't really control that. So that's how I view it typically. But I mean, there's people who disagree with that. So
No, I can see your point.
yeah. But either way, yeah, generally just we do want to play around our strong member as well, like when it comes to, because I think a lot of it is kind of you are a bit overly concerned about the weaker person on your team as well, which is definitely we want to find like who's strong and kind of play around them. That was a nice double kill. Nice.
I ignited the Timo because like he can make himself.
Invis, yeah.
Yeah, is that okay or like?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay.
I would say the other thing is you question yourself on things that are obviously just correct. Like, of course, a champion who can go invis if you ignite them so you can get vision of them is a good thing. Like, you don't need to be, you can be confident if you have a good rationale for your reason, like, you know, for your decisions, that it's going to be a good decision. You don't have to be like too, you know, questioning yourself on everything. It's good to ask questions though. Obviously, I just want to point that out as well, because confidence is also important, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned that already. Like when I play solo queue, I go mid lane, but like if I play with friends, I just go support. And like yeah, so confidence is a is something I would want to work on as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for me, it's just like I just try to be pretty objective in the ways that I view it, because I used to get like really mad at myself every time I like make a mistake, and it would be not very like productive. But then there would be other times where I'm blaming my teammates 24/7, and that's also not productive. So it's hard to find like an exact balance. But for me, generally, I just try to evaluate the decision I made and then go from there. Like if I think the decision was correct, even if I end up messing up because I like make a mechanical mistake or I do something wrong, it's like I'm fine with that. I'm more just concerned with my decision making. And when it comes to like being worried about like, yeah, like I used to also be a support main originally, and then I eventually tried, like I ended up getting challenger on all 5 roles because I got bored of like just playing one role. But for a long time, like I was scared to switch because I felt like I only went on that role, like I didn't have confidence in it. And so eventually I just spent like an entire season just like really hard focusing on like every small detail of the lane. And then like even when I would be worried about not playing as well, or I would be duo with someone else, I just play the role anyways, and I'd realize usually they don't actually care. And like if they really care that much and they're gonna like flame me, then it's probably not like the best friend anyway. They don't really want to play with them that much. That's how I view it, but I don't know. I mean,
Okay, I have a question again.
Go ahead.
When they did Drake, like my jungler died to Teemo, like we were right, and so I didn't see any value in like fighting them because I didn't think we could like kill them in a group fight. So I just went like for the turret, but then I saw my team getting in, and I didn't know if I should stay for the turret or if I should go in. In the end, I tried, but like
kind of like 50-50, like sort of hesitating between each decision. So that's one thing with the confidence thing is you also have to commit to the decision you're making, or else you're doing nothing, and then it's even worse because doing either or would be better than doing neither. But let's evaluate the actual fight that we're in right now. So it makes sense that you're trying to find a flank angle. You're a callie. You're not, starting the fight, and so then you have time to evaluate the decision. And let's look at when our teammate died. So when our teammate died, 2 of the enemy are dead, but 1 is respawning relatively soon. And so we have a current 3v4. Our teammate doesn't have flash, but doesn't have ult, but he's full health. This guy's full health. Everyone's full health, and we have an Alistar ult. We have an Akali ult. You are super strong, and your team is relatively close in gold. You're down 1 dragon, which means you want to at least get 1 dragon so the enemy don't get soul. So you don't have to get this dragon, but it's nice. So 100% you should contest this, because you have numbers advantage. It doesn't matter that your jungler is dead, because if you win the fight, you're still going to get the objective. So being more aggressive in this point would be good. You could actually even find a flank angle like over here if you really wanted. Going straight in the fight isn't bad either, but you should be following up. You're kind of a little worried here, then you don't really find a great angle to go in, and so you decide like, now I'm going to prioritize the turret. I feel like you could have definitely still tried to go in on this fight to like look for something, because you could easily one-shot either backline, right? Or Karma or Caitlyn, and get a lot of value out of this fight. Like even if you didn't end up winning the fight entirely, if you were there to hover your team or you were targeting the squishy, you could have done something. But instead you were kind of like hovering in an area where you never had an engage range. So basically you were essentially standing the whole fight where an AD carry should stand, behind the tank, kind of sitting there. When if you tried to search for a flank angle or whatever, you could have found a lot more value like onto a squishy. So I would say when it comes to the actual playing of the fight, you should have been a bit more, playing around vision, around other sides to kind of split the enemy and go onto the squishies. But when it comes to the decision of to fight or not, it made sense to fight because you had a numbers advantage for a limited amount of time. So you should have tried to take more advantage of that than you did. And again, even if your jungler is dead, because your teammates were still really strong and you're really strong, like you could have fought that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I do also want to point out that the most common time to come back in Wild Rift games is the second dragon, like when you're behind. So if you are behind a decent amount as a team, going to the opposite side of the dragon and just playing for the gold and the turrets on that side, the gold bounties, their turrets, their waves, whatever, that is overall more valuable than fighting a stupid fight. So I like that you're thinking like, I don't want to fight when I think it's a losing fight. So I agree with that you should look for more valuable, uses of your time to be stronger for later parts. It just happens in this case, you actually did have the means to fight because you were up a number, and you could have found a better angle to like get onto the squishy, basically.
Okay. Can I ask you about like my builds as well later?
Yeah,
or like
yeah, you can, of course.
All right.
Yeah, we could. That's probably a good thing to do at the end. It would make sense. So.
Yes.
Like when I'm writing the notes out. And then here, I don't think there's anything you could have really done to stop your team from going to the wrong side of the map.
I sometimes get them, so I just thought I can try.
Yeah.
But like, didn't work.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of obviously a bit greedy to even like try to contest, but I don't really mind trying to contest this that much. Like, you thought maybe you didn't know the health of it, and then you end up seeing that it's 1 HP. Probably could have technically ran out once we saw that it was basically dead, but I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. It's mostly your bot lane's fault for being on the wrong side of the map as Baron is spawning. Because that's definitely important, is to side lane on the same side of the objective as the mid laner. So like Akali likes to side lane a lot, but you usually want to side lane on the same side of the objective, because you actually want to be able to be in the fights. Whereas a split pushing top laner would want to be on the opposite side of objectives to draw pressure away. So when you're like relatively strong or you want to fight, you want to be on the same side. But say that you were weak and you wanted to just draw pressure on the other side, then you would go away from the objective. Like if you thought you wouldn't be valuable in the fight, basically. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I think at this point the game's probably over. We'll see if there's anything specific. But I would say the main things are the lane stuff we spoke about in terms of like the getting the wave crash on the proper wave so we can recall for mana boots, creating a roam angle, being okay with utilizing or like using our time to just hover in the river, see if anything's happening rather than being like worried like, oh, I'm not always doing something. It's okay to just use our time in that type of way to look for the opportunity, because then once the opportunity does show up, you're going to be in a position to actually take advantage instead of staying in your lane as much as you are. And then also being aware of like specific things. I think a lot of times you're playing the game the way I see. I mean, I've only ever seen you play one game, but it seems like you're kind of playing the game the same way, regardless of a lot of other factors that are present. So for example, you went for that gank when the enemy potentially had their flashes, where a hard dual lane to gank, had full health, all that. And you're playing the lane against Yasuo, still in a very aggressive matchup, or in a very aggressive way, despite the matchup not being super optimal for you. And so I want you to be like a bit more changing your playstyle, again, being more concerned with roaming in this type of matchup, being more concerned with playing for lane in a matchup you think is really easy for you. And then here, Karma obviously counters you. I think we see Karma here, and then you walk in still, or I don't know. Yeah, we see Karma's here, and our team is not really in a position to follow, which again comes to like, you're playing a lot of these fights very straight up, where you just kind of, obviously it's greedy to go in. I don't need to tell you that it was greedy to go in. Like, that's pretty straightforward, right? But when the thing that I think is valuable is to be paying more attention to our teammates' location and kind of trying to be a bit more patient and find flank angles or find other things, because I think most of these fights you just straight up, you hope that as you're staring at the enemy, they don't dodge your abilities. Whereas if you're, you know, finding different vision pockets to stand in, or you're over a wall or other things like that, and you're waiting for your teammates to fight, and then you go in late, it's usually a lot more valuable. Especially you have an Alistar, you have people who can kind of make the plays for you first. And then again, Karma, we should know Karma is going to W us. And then also, you didn't ult until after you shrouded. Like, you shrouded, then you ulted rather. So then you're out of your shroud. So like, now we got 0 value out of this, right? So the order of operations, we need to ult, then shroud. But yeah, that all makes sense.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's probably over, I assume.
And
you said
yeah,
the other video is not uploaded, right? So you have
to. Yes, I'm trying to get it on my iPad, but like it's still loading.
So you can just screen share. That doesn't matter.
Yes, I can, but then I have to switch. Hold on.
Yeah, I think the game's over. So yeah, we'll just switch real quick.
Okay, I'm back in a second.
Nice.
Oh, buddy. Okay. Oh yeah, like this is not in game, right? This is a video I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this time matchup is Morgana, right?
Yeah, this is one of the really bad games from today.
Yeah, and so again, what do you want to do against Morgana? Like, how do you want the lane to go? What do you feel that your champion should do in this matchup?
Like I don't want to engage her until like I'm level like 2 maybe, or 3 the best.
Yeah, you may be on level 2. Yeah, you can trade with her, but generally she's gonna have good wave clear. She's gonna be hard, and I guess I don't really like chasing this. Like, I'd rather just stay in the lane, frankly, but maybe it works out. I guess it does work out. I assumed he's just gonna back off, and I'm just gonna be wasting my time and losing control. But I mean, I guess we kill him. I don't know why he was invading in the first place, but it works out.
It's diamond.
Yeah, you know, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I see it in Sovereign anyways too. Like, people are dumb regardless of rank. It's how it is. But you're definitely right. Like, you're not going to want to trade super hard, and then if you have level 2, you can start using your W as kind of a way to back them off. And then the other important thing to understand is that Morgana is not really a champion we're going to frequently solo kill in lane. Like, if they, you know, run into us, give us free kills, we'll always take it, obviously. But my plan here, similar to the Yasuo game, is I want to get that good recall on mana boots, which you can actually get if you just crash this wave now. And I don't mind taking the trade because you saw getting gold trade, so that's really good. But you're already going to have mana boots once you crash this wave because you got the first blood. And then you find a recall there, and then once you're hitting level 5 again, we're trying to start pushing and roaming rather than just spending the time kind of not doing much again in lane, because again, it's pretty hard to solo kill a Morgana. I think her ult reveals you, right? Or does it not? I think it does.
I think she does, yes.
Yeah. So either way, the ult at least attaches to you, even if it doesn't reveal. And then you also, you know, you'll get rooted. She has barrier. It's pretty hard to kill her. And so here, I don't want you sitting so scared, you know, just like trying to freeze the wave, letting her have the control, because what this allows her to do is recall before you, rotate before you, do all these things. So if you end up getting the wave pushing. So like use your second ability here to hard push the wave. Basically, you're not going to get one shot by Morgana when you're this amount of HP. So if you push the wave really quickly here, you're going to create an opportunity to roam, which is what you or for recall then roam. So this is what you do, and as long as you recall right after, this is a good decision. But rotating straight here first is going to be probably a bit of waste of our time, because even if we do end up getting the kill here, which again is onto a tank champion who's sort of hard to kill, right? Poppy is pretty hard to kill. We end up now not getting our recall off, not getting to come back to lane stronger, and then having to stay around longer, which means that we don't get a good roaming opportunity later. So again, you kind of have to go through these proper steps, which is we get this recall timer off most games for the mana boots. We use that recall timer to come back to lane, push one wave. Then when that wave gets pushed, if we have some time because there's not another wave coming for a while, we go for a roam then. But instead, you go for a solo kill on a full health person. And like, it does work out, but I don't, and we don't even kill. But like, it's really close, right? Don't get me wrong, it's really close. But you had no real reason to think specifically, I'm going to kill there. She didn't even click her barrier, so she's a fucking idiot as well. So she also had to be an idiot for it to even be that close. But she was full health, she had her barrier, she had her flash, she also didn't click flash. So she legit didn't click her buttons. And so like, again, shout out to her for giving us the chance, but we're just taking fights and we're just hoping the enemy are bad, basically, is what we're hoping. Whereas if we do what I'm telling you to do, that works against a Sovereign, it works against a Diamond, it works against an Emerald, it works against everyone, and it's consistent. And what we're worried about in Ranked is, and that was a nice play, good job, but we're worried about the consistency. We're worried about making plays that are going to work out over the long run in many, many games, not plays that rely on the enemy not clicking their buttons. Another important factor is if you play for all these kills, which again, I'm not telling you not to get kills. Killing people is good in video games, not in real life, but like it's not that valuable, because if you get the kills, you end up having a shutdown, and then you give the shutdown back to Morgana in the end anyways, as we saw here. So you didn't, like, you got 3 kills. Those 3 kills gave you 900 gold total, or I guess 1050 because you got a first blood. Coaching session is in 20 minutes. Keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, but, no, that was like...
but then she gets 600 gold back for killing you. So she got 2 kills worth of gold for 1 kill on you. And so that's why over prioritizing these kills isn't very valuable. Again, take them when they're there, but the waves and the rotations are a lot more valuable, are going to get you a lot more like kind of value in the long run. And again, most of the times these are going to result in kills in a side lane from your roam, and then after you roam, you get to take the wave after that roam, you just get a lot more value. So that's really the main thing to understand, is like we need to identify what matchups we think we can actually kill in and why. So I want you, before you go in, like in the lane, like before you went in, for example, for that solo kill on her, I want you to check, does she have flash? Does she have ult? Does she have barrier, exhaust, whatever spell it is that they have? Do I think that I can kill this person at this HP? And then make a conclusion based on that. And then if your conclusion is I can kill them, then try to kill them. But then if you make the mistake and it turns out you can't kill, now you know that for the future, right? So you need to kind of like just constantly be testing whether or not you can kill, that type of thing. Rather than just every single time you're like, oh, I have ults, I want to go in on people, that type of thing. This kind of makes sense?
Yes, it does. Also, like, that clock is gonna stay there for a few minutes because like I was away while recording this, so
yeah, that's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
I can see everything that's valuable anyway. Like, I don't think it's
okay.
My viewers might be annoyed if I make it a video, but it's okay. They'll flame you in the comments. All right. Again, we go in on 4 people when there's a Morgana ult that can reveal us. They have Pantheon CC, Nautilus CC, and the dragon was already killed, and our teammates were all dead. So this is again one of those things where we're just not actually like asking ourselves the simple question of what spells do they have? How are they going to respond? You're just, I want to kill, I'm going to go try to kill people. It's even when you took the 3rd ability on Akali, which we've all done it. I play a lot of Vex, I take a lot of Vex ults that I shouldn't, so I get that. But like, you're just not taking into account how they're going to respond. You're just thinking about what you want. And so it's going to be a lot more valuable if we start thinking about how the enemy are going to respond, and again, shifting our gameplay based on that, basically. So that's kind of the gist of it, right? Is in these matchups where we don't think we have a good angle to actually kill, we're going to push and we're going to roam. And then again, with the roaming, we're okay with wasting 15 seconds, but we need to go back to the lane when the wave comes. And so, for example, here, you don't push your wave before roaming, and so it's a really shitty roam, and they're full health with a Nautilus who can CC you. So not only is it a low likelihood to work out for a similar reason as before, full health, ultimates, flashes, whatever, but you also didn't push your wave first, so you lost out on stuff. So this time, this roam, you did lose out on stuff the way that you felt you were losing out on that Yasuo roam, you know, in the Yasuo the last game, because you didn't push your lane first. But say you'd push your wave first and you did the exact same thing that you just did, it would have been fine because you wouldn't have been losing out on anything. So we need to understand essentially, usually get the wave, then go rotate. Only time that you're gonna deviate from that is when you're like either when there's an objective soon and you just know you really want to fight that, or if you see extremely free kills. So again, you roam before pushing. You see how you should just be pushing this, then roaming. It's gonna be 5 seconds later, and you're still gonna be here. Everything's gonna be fine. But even if you do get this kill as well, so you got 300 gold from this kill. You lost 200 gold in your wave in mid lane. So yes, you gain 100 gold worth of value from this, but you lose that 200 gold. The kill makes you worth more gold, and it's not guaranteed, right? This kill's not guaranteed, so the only way that the expected value would be enough is if you think that 66% of the time you're going to kill them, and I don't think that 66% of the time you're going to kill Nautilus with ultimate slash hook slash whatever, and a Hex Flash Misfortune who was over half health, and you didn't even have the information that she was half health by that time. You just got lucky that she happened to go aggressive, and you didn't know if it was warded or not, so you also, you know, could have been warded, right? So basically, we need to take into account a lot of these factors, push our wave, then we can make the same plays that we're making. Does this all kind of make sense? I know I keep asking that question, but making sure.
Yeah, no, like it does, and thank you for asking sometimes.
Yep.
I have a question, like, so because I mostly play solo queue, and if my bot lane or my top lane just does not ward or like destroy the ward, then should I just not roam?
No, you can roam when it's warded, because most of the time your roams should be things that will work out despite wards, because it's just something that's just going to work out because you have enough information to know it's going to work. So like, for example, if you push your wave and then you start rotating and you know that the enemy, you know, mid is still stuck clearing the wave, and you see a half health bot lane and say it's a Lulu and a Vayne, they're like Enchanter, ADC, they're pretty squishy, right? And you have a tank support, and that tank support's full health, and you roam there, even if they see you and they start backing off, they're going to die because you can dive them under their turret because they're low enough. And you see that, you know, again, maybe they don't have all, you know what they don't and do have because you're paying attention to all these things. So it's going to be fine either way. But no, if they're not clearing words, I mean, that also means that the enemy has to be paying attention. Again, we're in Diamond. We just saw what this Morgana has done. A lot of times they don't even notice when it is worded for like 5 seconds, right? It's not like they're going to see you from, you know, the time when you're in the like starting your roam to the time when you're in the end of their roam. They're gonna spot you at one instance, which might be already when you're only 2 seconds away from them, and then they only have 2 seconds to react. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And then we can also see how, even though you're like relatively strong gold wise and kill wise, you're down a level as well to Morgana. So the other thing is these kills don't give you as much XP as the waves do, and so a lot of times, because I frequently will abuse the fact that Akali players or assassin players will over roam, kind of how you've done in this game. And then even if I'm even gold with them or whatever, I'll be ahead a level or two, which gives me additional stats and is essentially more gold. Like that's basically what it is, right? You get more stats from being a higher level, and you get, you know, level up on an ability. So that's another reason why it's more beneficial. Here, kind of, you know, unfortunate you didn't see them in the bush, and that was kind of weird that he was in the bush, so that's more of a just unlucky. I think like your mechanics on Akali are genuinely like very good. I don't play a lot of Akali, but they're definitely better than mine. And I've played like 50 or 100 games with this champion still. So like you're good at Akali, you understand how to play the fights. The problem is sometimes you try to play too front to back instead of finding flank angles in a lot of these fights, and you're impatient without, because again, this is a hard ass Akali game. Fucking Morgana already hard. Pantheon, Poppy, Nautilus, this sucks like a lot. You know, it's a really hard matchup. And so when you're in these types of games, one, you shouldn't have taken Ignite. What should you have taken?
That like cleanse thing?
Yes, you should have taken Cleanse. And then after you hit Death Cap, you should buy QSS. And then you need to understand, again, you have to wait out for a lot of those spells to be used in the fights and that type of thing as well.
Sorry, what's I'm sorry.
QSS is Quicksilver
what's
enchant.
QSS?
It's the one. It's the enchant.
Oh,
yeah, the 800 gold silver one.
Yeah. I tried that for a while, and I just like because I always buy stasis, so I just like I click it and then I just stand there because I think I'm just gonna
Yeah.
and
Uh,
I die.
I mean, yeah, it's a little harder to use, that's for sure. And again, obviously, all the advice I give you is stuff you don't have to take if you don't want. But the reason that it is valuable in some of these games is because then it allows you to respond to spells you otherwise wouldn't be able to respond to. So the thing that I'm telling you is, right, keep track of certain enemy spells. Don't go in until those spells are gone, or don't go in until your teammates distract the dangerous people, that type of thing. But if you have QSS, now you can be like, okay, now I can actually go on that Pantheon because when he stuns me, I'm going to QSS. And if you're telling yourself specifically as a plan before the fight starts, I'm going to QSS Pantheon stun or Nautilus stun, you're less likely to accidentally stand still for no reason because you're actually actively making that plan in your mind rather than just being like, oh, I'm scared, I got stunned, let me click my stasis, and then, oh, it's a Q, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
if you're kind of making that plan a bit more, it makes it a little easier. But again, that's, a preference thing. If you just notice, like, no, I keep messing it up, then just two options. Either you give up or you keep trying and focusing on improving that. Because the same way that I told you about trying to find a specific aspect of your gameplay, it can be something as small as, I want to utilize QSS better. Like, that can legit, obviously you're not going to have it early on in the game, but you can start buying QSS every game for 20 games straight just for the purpose of trying to get better at that. So basically, like, say you try to focus on something in the early game, and then from minute 10 to minute 20, you're only focused on your QSS usage. That's not the first thing you should focus on. There's a lot more glaring issues that we spoke about that I want you to focus on first. But say you're a week, month, whatever down the line, like, that's the next thing to focus on. And it kind of makes it more fun sometimes, at least for me, because I'm less focused on my teammates inting or something else random because I'm having a specific goal and something that I'm trying to get better at, like during the game. So that's kind of like what I would say to that. But again, it's up to you, obviously.
I try that actually.
And then, yeah, here I like you going side lane rather than going mid. There's a lot of times when it's fine to try to fight him because your teammate engaged. I don't really know why he Malphite ulted at full health. But we're all going on a full health Nautilus, which is kind of like where the target priority thing, which we've seen a couple times, is kind of a mistake from you, right? Is we're targeting the tanks and we're not finding the flank angles. And again, we follow up on a Malphite. I don't know why Malphite ulted that. That was really weird of him. But you could have gotten this top wave as well. You went to the bottom lane wave where your Gnar is already. You should have been covering this top lane wave that we would have got a lot more gold from. This jungle camp doesn't give us nearly as much gold, and it takes forever to clear. Like, Akali is really bad at clearing camps. So, yeah, we definitely would have wanted to just stay on that side. We also want to be opposite side of the, or same side rather, of the objective, right? And the dragon's the next objective. So,
Okay.
you went back and forth. You just.
I told you that this is one of my worst games of today. So.
No, it's okay. I'm not judging. Well, I guess I'm here to sort of judge or just tell you what you did wrong. But I'm not.
Yeah.
Actually, I just think it's funny that you took it and then you went back. But the main thing to understand is when we're confused in the mid game on where to go, and people are mid, right? If nobody's mid, you can cover mid. That's fine. But generally speaking, we want to be on the same side of the objective. Now, let's say that our teammates are all grouping mid / on the same side of the objective, and that other wave is not covered. You can go cover that other wave. But generally speaking, we prefer to be focused on that because you do want to be, because like what it does for you is it gives you a natural flank angle anyways, because if you pushed out a side lane wave as your teammates are on mid, you get to go through the enemy river into behind them, finding a flank angle. So it also gives you a good flank angle because you don't have to be in the fight right away. You're a Kali, like you don't show up right away. You show up to clean everyone up and take credit for everyone else's hard work when you just one shot everyone.
Oh,
yeah. What's
up? Wait, I have a question. So like if you say like for example my team is grouping mid and I should go like cover the side wave and then go from the rivers, so like they're like where the blue ward is, like that river.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on the situation, right? Like, let's say that we're doing that and there's 25 seconds before this Baron is spawning. Let's say the Baron is the objective we're fighting over, right? So let's say you're pushing that bottom lane wave out and your teammates are a bit further up in mid lane than they are right now. Like, let's say they're where their Pantheon is and you see the enemy kind of interacting with that. Then yes, you would find, you don't necessarily actually have to go through a river. You could also go through your own jungle, right? Wherever it is. The point is, you're going to push out a wave and then you can come from a different angle. It doesn't even have to be coming from behind them. You can just be coming from the side. It's going to depend on how far the enemy are pushed up, all of those types of things. But generally, it's just about being on a different side so we can come from a different angle so that the enemy gets split up and then we can, isolate their backline, basically. Does that make sense?
Yes, got it.
When you pause, does anything show up that you want me to edit out if I make it a video, or is everything fine? Like not edit out. I just want to make sure so I know if I need to edit anything.
I don't really know what you mean. Like,
So just pause again.
yes.
You see how it shows your pictures in the bottom? Is there anything that I should edit out?
That's not true. It's just like it's just from another game, like redeem codes. That's it.
So you don't care if it's in there. This is what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't mind.
Because I'm lazy. I don't like editing, so I just want to make sure. So.
All right.
All right, and
You're
then
actually,
we were also what's up?
no, I just wanted to say that you're actually more fun to talk to than to text to. So
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm told I'm a pretty boring texter, so that's fair. But
yes.
this objective we wanted to fight as well. Like the enemy had 2 dragons. We don't want them getting soul. And you guys were kind of all on the wrong side of the objective as the objective was spawning. That was a little hard because I think they had Baron, right? So probably couldn't have done it anyways. I don't know if they had Baron. No, they didn't have Baron yet. Yeah, you could have been on the same side of the objective and trying to contest it. Now, realistically, your team wouldn't have followed, and then you wouldn't have been able to do it anyways. But for you, you still should have been on the same side of the objective as we kind of spoke about before, right? And it would have been more valuable. So there's that. But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't think it would have actually resulted in you getting the objective, but it's still something that we overall want to do. And then you see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Except it's mid and the enemy aren't bot. But the exact same thing would happen if you were bot and your team was mid, where now you're finding a different angle because you were clearing a wave. Now the issue is you decided I want to hit the full health tank Nautilus instead of hitting the enemy squishy, where you could use that angle that you had to easily go on that Morgana or that Misfortune, but instead you just walk back and now you're behind your tanks again, sitting in the same angle that we see you very frequently in, where you're not really able to do anything. So that is definitely something that's important. So we did find the flank angle the way that I was telling, you know, with getting a side lane wave, or in this case a mid wave, and then going into a fight. The issue is that our target priority has frequently been, you know, targeting the tanks a lot more than we should. It's a weird game now because at this point we kind of should understand, like, the fights are going bad. The real way to win this game is just keep the pressure on the waves because we have their top lane and mid lane inhib at this point. And so I pretty much want you to hard push this bottom lane wave, like, even further, not contest the Elder Dragon at all, and then just hope that we can stall out despite Elder being up. Instead, you go mid here, and then what's going to happen, like, the reason that I want you to push bot is because that's the inhib you don't have, so they're going to be able to push that a lot faster. But naturally, the mid and top will start pushing, and so our goal is just to stall, right, and just kind of stall until our teammates respawn and everything. But if we go and fight here like this, then basically what ends up happening is if you guys die, you lose the game instantly, whereas you could have stalled out the game already. And your jungler wasn't alive, so then contesting this is also kind of like just risky and doesn't do a lot for us. I'm surprised that the fight even works out this well for you, frankly, but it definitely would have been a bit more ideal to just go bottom lane and just like prioritize the waves stalling out the game. But it did kind of work out, so I mean, we'll take it. See, and then again, this is the wave thing. Same thing I was telling you before, right? We're going and trying to fight the Elder. There's no chance you're winning this, and then say you did die there. Or don't take the E. Thank you. Thank you for not taking it. I mean, I wanted you to take it, sort of. Like, I thought it would have been kind of funny. I think you die, yeah. So you can kind of see, right? This is exactly what ends up happening, is we over-prioritize the fighting instead of realizing the way we're going to win this game. Like, we've seen about 5 fights in a row all go badly. So we can kind of realize, you know, we're probably not going to win a lot of fights. But we have the inhibs, and so that's how we're going to have pressure to possibly win. But yeah, basically that. And I assume, and again, stop me if you have questions, but I assume this pretty much game ends. That's about it. So again, we'll write out the notes. So I'll just share my screen once this game's over, and then I'll write notes. You can see if there's anything specific left with the game, but I think that's it. Yeah.
Like, if you want to see this fight, I don't know.
Yeah, we can see what happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Your target priority is better that time. Yeah. I mean, they have Elder, so it's just gonna be bad regardless. Okay, but yeah, your target priority. I like that you're at least targeting the squishy. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll just share my screen. Let me know when you see it. And,
I'm gonna switch back to
Yep. You still see the notes here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to send them to you, to be clear, so you don't need to screenshot them or whatever. But basically, we'll just go through the first game, the start of it, and then go from there. So first thing is, I want you to identify your your goal in lane, and play for that. And then so I'll just write, like, goal may be solo kill, to get out, or to crash wave 3 for mana boots, roam, drive, etc. Right? Depends on the specific game. But given, depending on the goal, we're going to have different things that we're going to do. In both of the games that we watched, your goal should have been to roam a lot more by initially crashing the wave and then getting one more wave, then roaming on level 5. So I'll just write basically a comment. And again, if anything I'm typing doesn't make sense, stop me, because again, it just needs to make sense to you. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to me. So if it doesn't, just let me know. But a common sequence is push first 3 waves, then recall for mana boots. If you don't get perfect CS, you're going to need 4 waves. Depends on the game, right? But then come to lane. I really can't type. Okay. Immediate or instantly push the wave, then roam on level 5. So that's basically just a general thing. And then also another general thing is push wave almost always before roaming.
So before level 5, I shouldn't roam?
Before level 5, it's extremely rare that you should ever roam on a collie, because as we kind of spoke about, you're usually giving something up in mid if we're looking for a roam, and so you have to have a high likelihood of the play working out. So the reason, so again, is there something you want to say? Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
when do the scuttles spawn?
Scuttle spawns 125. And so you can technically, like, say that you have your lane priority, which means that the lane is pushing into them, you have control of your wave. You can rotate to a scuttle if you see a fight happening, but that's only like if you actually see the fight breaking out. So I would say, yeah, like that's the one time where maybe you will roam before level 5 is scuttle.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically these are the main things in terms of before roaming, you need to make sure your lane is pushed 95% of the time, because what that ends up doing, kind of as I spoke about with like the gold value, where I said, the 300 gold is the potential payout of your roam, whereas 200 gold from the wave is the guarantee. And so you have to, 66% of the time it has to be worth, because 0.66 times 300 is 200. And so you have to make sure that you're getting at least as much value, expected value from that roam. I don't know, does that make sense when I say it like that, or is that like a weird way to explain it?
Yeah, no, it does.
Okay. So the reason that that's important is because when you push your wave, you're increasing or decreasing the likelihood that you lose more in mid, because you have like 15 seconds till the wave goes. Because if you roam right on the wave, you're guaranteed losing 200. But say that you roam 15 seconds before wave comes, maybe you'll be able to go back, and then you only lose 100 or even 0. So that's why like that's going to increase the chance of you wanting to roam, is the fact that the wave is pushing. Whereas like let's say, okay, you see 1,000 kill shutdown person low health, maybe you're going to give up your wave that one time because that's 1,000 gold, and you think it's a high likelihood that you get it. So that's why pushing the wave is important. And then again, when setting up your first roam, usually you need to do these things, which is, again, be aware of, do I actually want a solo kill in the matchup or not? If you do see an angle to solo kill, obviously always go for the solo kill. But if you don't see a real angle to go for the solo kill, then you do this common sequence that we kind of wrote down. And then when it comes to actually deciding on whether to stick to your roam, so first thing is be okay with spending a bit of time in a river after pushing your wave, even if you end up just going back to lane and getting nothing, because the enemy aren't getting anything specific either. And then, yeah, when it comes to roaming itself, keep track of enemy health, flashes, ults, abilities, wave state, teammates' health, teammates' ults, etc. I hate autocorrect, ults, etc. When deciding on whether or not to commit to the roam. So basically, you have to look at all these different factors, and there's probably even more that I didn't specifically mention, whatever it is. Because also, like, another important thing is roaming with our jungle. So try to roam with our jungle when possible. I want to make it very clear this isn't always possible, but it's an ideal thing. And then something else that I was going to say that I forgot. Things thongs. Jeez. Things to do after pushing. I never type like ever, apart from when I'm typing notes and sometimes when I'm writing papers for school. So it's like I'm very bad at typing. I bought a MacBook specifically just stream. I never do anything else with it. So, okay, things to do after pushing our wave is either recall, ward, roam. That's basically it. One of these three
Okay.
things is what we'll do. Or I guess we could technically dive the enemy, if they were low enough. Yeah, so main thing is just understanding, I think most of these things relate to roaming so far. Understanding when to roam, why we're roaming, what we need to do before we're roaming. So are there any other questions related to roaming or anything like that that you're curious about?
No, actually not. Like, you're a very good teacher.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So then the other important thing for you is, well, two other important things is going to be side laning, and then is going to be fights themselves. So when it comes to fights themselves, basically target priority, right? Target, squishy, / easy to kill champion. That's the first thing. Pretty straightforward there. Then also keep track of key spells and fights. And fights often will be enemy flashes, abilities with CC. Do you know what CC is?
Yes.
Okay. So abilities with CC or really high burst damage spells. So like that ultimate. And so then you identify the key things. Now, be aware that you're not going to be able to keep track of everything. But you want to keep track of the key things. So like in the last game, like Nautilus and Pantheon, those stuns, those are the most dangerous to you. Everything else, it can be dangerous, but it's not something where it's like going to surprise you. You don't really have to keep track of it. So let's say we see Pantheon stun, we see Nautilus use its ult. Now we know I can go in and I'm kind of chilling. Like I'm most likely fine. So that's why it's really important to keep track of those certain things. And then also keep track of how you will respond to key spells. So this is where the QSS thing came in, where can possibly Quicksilver, a stun, or a stasis, a Z, ult, or flash after enemy flashes. Those types of things. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes. Do you think Proto Belt is ever worth it as an Akali or not?
Very rarely. It would only really be worth it if you were in a game where you felt 0 danger from any crowd control and you felt no burst damage was scary, because crowd control you'd buy QSS, burst damage you'd buy a stasis. So basically, if you felt like you were basically untouchable already in the game, and then they had someone who was like, you really need to catch out. So maybe you're really, really not scared of anyone, and then there is a Lucian who, can dash away from you, and you kind of want to be able to have that little extra gap closing. It could maybe be beneficial there, but it's very rare that I would actually recommend it.
Okay.
And then also can take cleanse into heavy CC. There's another thing I'd seen Pablo, the rank 1 Akali NA, doing. He'll take it against me, and then it's like, now I can't get nearly as much value out of him. Because realistically, Ignite's mostly for your lane phase, like for getting potential solo kills. But when it comes to later on in the lane, or later on in the game, you usually have enough damage to kill anyway. Don't get me wrong, taking Ignite in a lot of games is good, especially for the anti-heal and stuff, and the vision, like revealing like the Teemo, for example. But if they have as much CC as they had in that last game, Cleanse is good, and Cleanse removes Ignite, so it also makes your lane easier if like you're worried about dying in lane, because maybe you're into a Jace or whatever matchup's hard for you. Then the last thing was side laning. So as it comes to side laning, typically side lane, same side of the key objective. Side lane, opposite side of objective if you do not want fight. Second drag when really behind if you are super weak, etc. Any other questions about this?
No.
Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else specific. You wanted the build. I think that was the last thing.
Right? Yeah, but like it's already been an hour, so.
I don't care. I mean, I'm just gonna go eat. Nothing specific that I need to do right now. So,
Okay.
for builds, you want me to just tell you a build, or you want let me know what your build is? I don't play a ton of Akali, but
I just wanted to tell you my build, because I don't know if it makes sense right now, because I picked this up like a year back. So like I first go the mana boots, of course,
Yep.
and then I build like the Prophet's pendant from Infinity Orb.
Yeah.
And then like afterwards I don't go in Infinity Orb, I go Riftmaker second for the heal. And then I go Infinity Orb and then Lich Bane and Rabadons and so on. Like, is that okay with?
Not having death cap until fourth item, you should definitely have death cap by third item. So
Okay.
I would say for the build generally, I prefer just straight up going with the full Infinity Orb rather than going for Riftmaker. The time where it makes sense to go for Riftmaker is into tanks because it's the true damage from the passive is really useful. But if you're building it into squishy champions, it's not very good, which is where you need to consider again your goal of the lane, your goal of the game, your goal in all of these cases. So the game that you just played, or that you just showed me, Pantheon, Nautilus, a lot of melee champions, Riftmaker is a valuable item in that game because they're very tanky and it gives you health, it gives you healing, like you said. But let's say that the enemy was, you know, an enchanter, and then their jungler was relatively squishy, and maybe their top laner was their only tank. I would rather you going typically like Infinity Orb, then you just go a death cap even second at that point for maximum damage, or you could go Infinity Orb, Lich Bane death cap if you really wanted, then like a crown, and then something like that. So overall, your build is fine. Main things I'll write about the build is, yes, I holy shit, death cap by third item at the latest. Only go Riftmaker into tanks. Rush Infinity Orb most games instead of Pendant. Do you have any questions about that, or any questions about situational items or anything like that?
Yes, situational items like Crystalline Reflector.
Yeah.
And that's dance. Oh my god.
So never go Death Stance ever.
Really?
Why
Because
would you
like
go Death Dance? It's an
yes.
AD item.
Oh yeah, but like I hear if I kill an enemy and like it's like, is it never worth it? Because I
100% is not worth it.
Okay.
So it gives you AD, your champion scales with AP, so you're going to do significantly less damage. You have Crystalline Reflector, which provides the same armor that you would get from Death Dance. So if you're into AD, which is why I wrote here, Crystalline Reflector into full AD, that's the item you're going to go into full AD, not Death Dance. The passive feels cool from Death Dance, right? Because getting a kill, it's nice, but pretty hard to kill someone if we're wasting an entire item that's not giving us basically any damage. So it's not really gonna, like, the amount of time that's gonna take you to kill someone is probably gonna make you take more damage than the amount of healing you're gonna get from potentially getting a kill, which again you might not even get. So yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay, then I'll copy paste these. I think I'll probably upload this video most likely within a couple days.